Hi, I'm Dr. John Mendelson with Advanced Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. In today's world and with today's ever-growing technology, we all know a picture can be taken anywhere at any time and shared in an instant. We also know that our patients live active lives and we want you to always look your best. So stay tuned as we bring you our series called True Selfies.
Like $1 billion. You know, I think I'm one of the best looking men I've ever met. So I think, again, as I was looking back prior to the procedure, what I saw is probably more than what other people saw, I will tell you. I saw jowls, I saw fatty eye tissue above my eyes, and I had had my eyes done probably 10 years prior, so that does come back. And I just saw myself aging in front of the mirror, and as I said earlier, that I've watched myself for 35 years in a mirror every day. So
right now, but let me show you along this area. Okay, as we tighten this, we'll be able to delineate that jawline and jowl better, as well as the neck. That makes sense?
yeah.
Okay. Now, in men, you actually ask an interesting question. I'm going to turn your head to the left just a little bit. So, in men, because we do have the beard, this tissue, the skin, can be moved a little bit more vertically. Okay.
Yeah.
You've probably seen women with what you do. You know, you work on everybody's hair.
Right.
They've probably come in with some loss of hair, some hair loss, and that's because the surgeon has moved their skin that doesn't contain a beard up into that area.
I have seen that.
Okay,
yes.
but for men, we can cheat a little bit and get away with that. But does that
I got to see the process of me slowly, or I should say gravity slowly taking its toll. So, and the turkey neck thing, that gobbler, that's something to contend with. Particularly when you're taking selfies. Take a selfie of yourself. That proof's in the pudding there. So, I think probably I was waiting, number one, that I didn't wait too late. I've seen enough in my career that oftentimes people wait too long, and then the result ends up being exactly what the fear might be in entering into the procedure. So I'm a firm believer of going a little earlier so the result ends up being more natural, which I think was achieved. I think if there was any fear involved, it was exactly the common fear amongst all who enter into an elective procedure, is that I'm going to look like the Joan Rivers, the Wayne Newtons particularly. So it's those fears, and it being an elective procedure, you know, you have to weigh that out in your head. But then there's the trust issue with the doctor. You have to have a great relationship with the doctor. You have to believe in the doctor. You have had to have looked at his work numerous times on various patients and had seen the end result, and you just walk right through the fear and go for it. Fear is a mind game. So, you know, I went into my head and changed my mind and realized that fear is not it's a manifestation that we create. It's not really real, and so therefore it's a mind game. You go in and you change your mind and realize that, again, fear is not real. It's a manifestation of the mind. So change your mind. Yes, I've known Dr. Mendelson for many years, and I've always trusted his work. He's done any work that I have had done, and so that was the easy part, really. But he really has a gift. The number one, he's an artist, as you can see, and his ability to put you at ease because he knows his craft. And any question you have for Dr. Mendelson, he easily answers and answers them honestly. I recall he told me after the procedure, well, before and after, he reassured me, this changes daily. It will change daily. You will look at yourself one day, and the next day it'll be different, and the next day it'll be different, and that was true. One day I was like, wow. Next day I was like, oh, I'm swollen again. Wow. The next day it said that it's gone down. So, you know, I trusted what he had said, and I followed his instruction, and he was dead on. I think the night before I had gotten past any fear I had had, and so the next morning, the day of the procedure, I was excited. I mean, I didn't know what to expect as far as the length of time necessarily, how long I was going to be there, but I was excited. I had passed the fear and I was there, and And once you get that little cocktail before you go in there, I mean, all's good with the world. All's good with the world. And you can take your own playlist. I was totally relaxed, totally aware, although, I mean, you know, again, if there's any trepidation about that, I mean, the little cocktail helps that quite a bit. There was no really discomfort at all that I can recall. And so lying there and listening to the playlist and conversing with Dr. Mendelsohn, and I recall laying on the table and Dr. Mendelsohn starting the procedure, and first he started, I think, with the eyelid surgery, and that was nothing. I mean, he did a little something that kind of felt like it puffed my eyelids up, and then he removed what tissue needed to be removed, and then that felt like it was 5 minutes, and that was completed. And then the next thing, the most interesting I will say was when what Dr. Mendelsohn calls the smaz, that lovely word, the smaz, which is the muscle that he was about to lift that creates the procedure in and of itself. So I do recall the skin being incised, and then this is when I said, what the hell are you doing? Because then he takes this smaz and he pulls it up and gets the youthful look he's looking to get rid of the jowls. And I must have a really heavy smaz, because I recall that it was interesting because there was a lot of pulling. And then he reattached the smaz, and then I recall the skin being placed and whatever excess being removed, and then the sutures beginning. And I remember I kept asking probably, was there any blood, or because there seemed to be no blood, which was brilliant in and of itself, because I've had people who've had similar surgeries done elsewhere, and they were talking of tubes hanging out of their face that are behind their ears, and all of this blood. And I was like, well, I'm sorry you had to go out of town for that. You know, that wasn't my experience at all, which I think, again, is brilliant, because there was very, very little blood. So, which means very little swelling on top of that. So I did recall asking to see what he removed, but he didn't oblige, so that's fine. I wouldn't recommend that anyways, it's probably not pretty. So, and then, I mean, there was a couple times I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he told me, just because there was a sensation, there was no pain, there was just sensation. And he was doing his magic, his gift. And the experience laying there, I mean, it felt like it took 15 minutes, to tell you the truth, but I'm sure I was in there an hour and something, and it was totally pleasant. So, and then I'm in the recovery room, and I remember, because my partner took a video of me, I'm just bobbling my head around, I'm hiring a giraffe's ass, I'm looking at this mirror, this big tourniquet. And then I go home and I'm just wondering, okay, now what do I do? It was like a walk in the park, really. Once all the Valium or whatever he gave me wore off, I'm just sitting there taking selfies, to tell you the truth. That's how bored I was. I mean, I probably could have gone to Kroger. I think actually I went to get something to eat and put a hoodie on. Not that that helped anything, because my head looked like the size of an elephant, but I was hungry. I think that was the first watch, they just stared at me. But that's okay. But the discomfort level after that even was, I do recall, you know, and anyone who has this, he says you will feel tight, and you do feel tight. You will feel tight like you've never felt tight in your face before. And I'm like, oh my. But as he said, things changes daily, and I should have said change daily, but then it just all started to fall into place. It's amazing, because everything he told me and assured me of was in fact what happened. So, you know, it was an interesting experience, almost having an out-of-body experience, because you're goofed up in your head, but you're aware of what's going on, and then afterwards it's kind of a fuzzy memory, but it's still it's not vague, but it's.
So today we just completed Matt's lower advanced lifting procedure, facelifting procedure, as well as a revision upper blepharoplasty. So I'll talk about the eyelids first. Matt underwent a upper eyelid procedure about 10 years ago, and we were able to clean up a lot of the redundant hooding in his upper eyelid area. But over time, things started to change a little bit. He's lost more elasticity, and he had a little medial fat pocket that was bothering him. And so what we decided to do was really go back and clean that up. The outcome from that was fantastic, and I think Matt will be very pleased. As a male, we didn't want to sculpt his upper eyelid. His partner Sean was very fearful that he would look like Kenny Rogers if we did anything else. So we always want to be conservative with men, as we were with the Matt, and I think his outcome will be great. In terms of Matt's advanced facelifting procedure, he did have some challenges. Men in general have heavier skin. We have a beard, and there's more blood flow to the area, therefore there are more blood vessels, and so the tissue's heavier. Matt's anatomy also, while he has a very nice jawline, his neck is a little more obtuse. He doesn't have a highly positioned hyoid bone as we talked about before, and so there's some realistic limitations that Matt had. That being said, I think we were able to accomplish our goal. We were able to tighten his neck, his jawline, and his jowl. Probably tomorrow Matt will look a little more swollen than Julie had, just because he is a man and we removed more tissue. Overall, Matt's procedures were very successful.
When I arrived home, I think I stared in the mirror for about intervals of 15 minutes, and I'd give myself a break, and I'd walk back in there, and I'd look at myself again, not that anything was changing. Probably I was thinking, I really just did this, whatever I decided I went into, and I made it through it, I did it, and it was better than I expected as far as discomfort or just the procedure itself. As I said, I mean, it was nothing really. I mean, women can give birth, men can certainly do this or do this. So, it was remarkable because I was thinking, I'm really not as swollen as I thought I would be. And then I didn't see really any bruising, which I've seen, people, depending on the doctor or whatever, there's a lot of bruising involved depending on who does the procedure. I did not have any of that. The swelling, of course, and then it was time for bed. That was interesting. Thank goodness, you have to sleep sitting up, which fortunately I have one of those beds that you can elevate you and sit you up. I can tell you I probably did not sleep good just because I'm a side sleeper and sitting up was just, that's, what do? You sit there, you try to sleep. I took a little Ambien or something to that maybe help for a couple hours. It wasn't uncomfortable as far as that goes. It was just the nature of sitting up sleeping that I can't sleep on a plane, let alone sitting up in a bed. So, and then the next day it was time to have the tourniquet, I call it, taken off at Dr. Mendelson's office. So.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, everybody.
How
Hi,
are you?
I'm
Welcome.
well, thank
Come on
you.
in, have a seat.
Oh, more surgery, huh?
Well, this is the cleanup.
Okay, we like
I arrived at Dr. Mendelson's office, and it was time to go back and have my tourniquet taken off. And I'm thinking, I only had to wear this for a day. There was no really bruising, no blood. And then the tourniquet comes off. And then I will tell you, I get a mirror handed to me. I didn't quite look like myself, but I understood this. But it was a day after, and I was swollen in the cheek area, and my jowls were gone.
I'm going to have you hold this. You can sit up if you want. Okay, so I don't want you to panic here too much.
I'm not.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is that chipmunk thing that we talked about. A lot of swelling. That will settle down. Okay. And this is that woody, dull feeling. And the reason why you see.
So, me seeing no jowls and then my cheeks swollen, I think I looked like probably there was an old puppeteer back in the 70s and 80s, Whalen and Madam, if you recall who that is. She had a big feathery thing, Madam. I looked like her. It looked like my chin was down to here and my cheeks were up to here. But I thought, oh, this looks nice. Knowing that, it was a day after, that wasn't going to be permanent. But again, not seeing the jowls was in and of itself, because that was disturbing to me to see that. Not enough, prior to the surgery, it bothered me. And to see that gone, and to see that I had a jawline again. That was pretty, and some really nice cheeks. They were out to here, so. But no turkey neck and no jowls, and I thought, wow, okay, it can only get better from here, because I'm through the worst of it if this is the worst. And that's exactly what was the case, is that I just got better and better and better. And I think probably one of the most important things one has to consider when they do this procedure is to really, really take into account the doctor's instructions, post-operatively particularly so. I left Dr. Mendelson's office after the procedure with clear instructions on my limitations and what I could and could not do, and how to not overexert myself, not to strain, not to exercise, not even really walk the dogs. And I have dogs, and dogs need walked. So I think the end result clearly is a result of listening to Dr. Mendelson's instructions on what not to do and what I could do, and the time limit that I was under those restraints of not being able to do. And he was very right. And I think clearly if you don't listen to those things, you're not going to get as good a result as you would want, because you tend to feel a little better quicker than you thought. And afterwards, just seeing how I looked afterwards, all the things that I thought I was destined to keep has been taken away. My jowls, my turkey neck, and I have to tell you, I think I'm probably one of the best looking men I've ever seen. So, you know, I'm sure you'll agree. I have to tell you that the way I feel after this procedure is I can't tell you the confidence that I have. I've never really lacked self-confidence, but I can tell you, walking into a room, I can see the way people look at me, and I just kind of feel so fuzzy inside because I'm thrilled with the way I look. I mean, I couldn't have done anything better that would have elevated the way I felt about myself any better than the decision I made to have a lower lip with Dr. Mendelson. I'm ecstatic. I get compliments left and right. I think people thought I was crazy to even try it or even to enter into it. And I'm not one to follow rules or listen to other people. And I made my decision, and I'm telling you, I think I look like $1 billion, because $1 million doesn't work anymore. $1 billion. So $1 billion. I tell Dr. Mendelson that all the time. He's always calling, asking how I'm doing. I'm like $1 billion. You know, it's. I think I'm one of the best looking men I've ever met. So, you know, having gone through this experience, I have to tell you, you know, whatever fears you have, you should just toss them out the door. That's a psychological issue that you have to just overcome. I did this for myself. I'm sure there were people thought I was crazy to even entertain the idea. I think I'm sure I was told, I know, that I didn't need it done. But you know what? I wanted it done. I wanted it for myself. I knew that the end result was going to make me look better, feel better, present myself better. And, you know, if you have those fears, look at me. Because I got through the fear. I did, and I didn't listen. I listened to myself. I listened to what I wanted and what my intentions were and what I put out there, and I received that and 1,000 times more. And so, just get off the fear boat. Take the jump. And Dr. Mendelson, when I had any questions that even were fear related, he was so gracious and kind and knowledgeable. He eased those fears. He was honest with me, and if there were things that that were unfounded, he assured me they were unfounded in any of those questions or fears. And so I gave it to him and released those fears, and I think he was right on the money, and then some. And so I highly recommend Dr. Mendelson for any of the procedures that you are considering. I think it's his skill and his artistry and his is unparalleled. It's unmatched, and I've seen a lot of things done in my career. And I would totally and 100% put my money behind Dr. Mendelson. He's the man with the plan, and he's got a scalpel and a nice way of using it, and I'm more thrilled than I could even tell you. As I've told you, I think I'm the best looking guy I know. And I have to tell you, after the result I've achieved from Dr. Mendelson, I would have no trepidation at all if I was to consider any other cosmetic procedures needed. And there are a vast array of procedures out there from the neck up to the neck down. So, I mean, I would just know that I'm in very good hands, and I would consider, certainly, if something bothered me, sure, I certainly would address those issues with all the confidence and trust in Dr. Mendelsohn that I had before. I had said earlier in the interview process that I was spent all this time looking in the mirror every day, and when I'd be doing hair, I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm not necessarily looking at the client sometimes, and I didn't like what I saw before. What I see now when I look in the mirror is I don't even see the client, I just see me. And I'm more thrilled with it than I could ever, and then they have to pull me back in and say, Matt, you know, I'm here, I'm paying for this. I said, oh, okay. And then I look at them. And then I look at me, and I'm thrilled. So thank you, Dr. Mendelsohn. It's been a terrific experience, and I recommend it to anybody and everybody who has just a little issue with a little something, and have it make it go away. You did a great job. Thank you.